Your bank account is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Every action you take is kind of like a vote for the type of person you want to become.
Want to work out for the first time in your life, you didn't want to work out.
You really have to eat more, to lose weight.
Welcome back to the channel where we believe it's all about what we feed our mind because it affects our thoughts, which affects our actions, which in turn affects our results. Today I want to share with you my top rules for weight loss success, what I believe has helped me lose 65 pounds and keep it off. Without further ado, the first rule is one of my personal favorites: change your identity.
The only reasonable strategy is to focus on what you can control. If you spend all of your time focusing on things you can't control, then you're just going to end up frustrated. And so I think habits are maybe the best lever for that. Your outcomes in life are often a lagging measure of your habits. Like a lot of the time people talk about, I want to have more money, or I want to lose weight, or I want some kind of result. But the truth is, your bank account is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. We think the thing that needs to change is the bank account or the test score or the number on the scale, but actually the thing that needs to change are the habits that precede those outcomes.
Right. And even more so, your identity and sense of self, a lot of times, is all rolled up into your habits, which is even a crazier kind of a messing with your brain. In that these little things you do that you might ignore all the time could change who you actually are.
It's like, well, how do we come to believe things about ourselves? Because when you come into the world as a baby, you don't have any preset beliefs or notions. We all realize that if you grew up in a different culture or a different religion or a different community or household, you could adopt completely different beliefs if that was what you were raised in. How does this internal story that we tell ourselves, our identity, become shaped and formed? And I realized that it's mostly through the repetition of that story. And so what you come to realize is that your habits reinforce a particular identity. And sometimes this can be positive and sometimes it can be negative. The story could be things like, I'm bad at math, or I'm terrible at remembering people's names, or I'm not good at remembering directions places. Yeah. And all of those that's just an internal story that you tell yourself, but each time you have an experience that reinforces that, the story gets solidified. And so I think the method, the takeaway here is that every action you take is kind of like a vote for the type of become. And if you can master the right actions, if you can master the right habits, then you can start to cast votes for this new identity, this desired person that you want to be. I think that's one of the reasons why small habits matter so much. They don't necessarily transform your life overnight, right away. Like doing one push-up does not transform your body, but it does cast a vote for being the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. The real goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to write a book. The goal is to become a writer. Because once you've adopted that identity, you're really not even pursuing behavior change anymore. You're just kind of acting in alignment with the type of person you already see yourself to be. It's kind of like true behavior change is really identity change. Because once you've changed that internal story, it's way easier to show up each day. You're not even really motivating yourself that much to do it. You're just like, this is who I am now. If your desired identity is, I'm the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, or I'm an athlete, every time you're doing a squat, literally you can be in the middle of the rep and you're already getting gratified because you're acting in alignment with the type of person you want to be. It's like, oh, I just did that rep. I didn't miss this workout. That feels good. Now, I do think it takes a little while to get to that point where that actually feels like you. You can imagine somebody goes to the gym for the first week or the first month. They don't quite identify that way yet because they haven't spent enough time there. Stephen Pressfield, the writer, he wrote War of Art. Yeah. So I think it's in the War of Art. He has a piece where he talks about a wolf and how the wolf develops a territory, right? But the only way that it develops a territory is by being there, by walking around the terrain every day. And then it starts to feel like, this is mine, this is my home. And he talks about writers doing that by you make the chair and the computer and the desk in your office your territory. It becomes your terrain. And I think that is true for most habits too. Like when you walk into the gym for the first time, you feel very uncertain. It's not your territory. You don't feel like it's your terrain. But once you show up again for a week or a month or a year, at some point you cross this invisible threshold where it starts to feel like, yeah, this is for me, or I belong. And that, I think, once you've crossed that stage, it becomes more likely that you can get that kind of reaffirmation of your identity and start to instantly feel gratified.
Build your confidence and realize that you really can do it. This is from a personal trainer who actually decided to gain weight so he could understand what his clients are going through. This really struck home with me that he wanted to see the process because he really understood it's not just about following a diet and exercise program. There's so much more that goes on behind it. So take it away, Drew.
You didn't want to work out. For the first time in your life, you didn't want to work out. All of a sudden, something that you can sort of take for granted, this desire to feel good, feeling positive about yourself, believing positive things about yourself, that also begins to atrophy, just like a muscle.
Yeah, back then I focused so much on the physical aspect of weight loss or just transformation in general. But now I've been doing this for years. I realize that's what we're missing in the health and fitness industry is it's not just physical, right? The mental, the emotional, and even spiritual side are all paralleled, and it has to be a complete transformation. These small things of accomplishment help build that confidence of maybe I can do hard things. And that's the thing, people really don't believe positive affirmations at first because they've had 30, 40 years of negative self-talk. And now you're trying to tell them, just say these things out loud to yourself. Words have power. And they can actually change your beliefs, and they can actually change you at the cellular level the more you say them consistently. So I think there's something to saying positive words about yourself to yourself every single day. It's changed my life 100%. Saying positive words can help set you up for positive wins throughout the day in other areas of your life. Just like with physical transformation, they're like, oh, I'll be happy when I meet this goal, and then I'll celebrate. I think that's where people struggle and people suffer because they get unhappy because they're not there yet, right? And then they get there and they're like, well, that wasn't it. What is it now? They're looking for something else, some kind of outside source of happiness, when in reality, you can create it inside. You can choose to do it. It's hard. It takes rewiring your brain. It doesn't happen overnight. But I promise you that, if you can do things like a daily gratitude list every single day, that's gonna help you be fulfilled in the here and now while you're working on a better version of yourself.
How to burn fat and really get that metabolism burning.
This is an important aspect of life, that there's many adults that, are extremely smart, extremely successful, and they still don't know the difference between a carb and a protein.
I tell people with metabolism, you want to keep the fire burning, okay? So you eat more often to keep the metabolism burning. My analogy is, if you have a fireplace and you throw a log in, the fire gets hotter. If it burns out, you don't throw a log in, the fire burns down. So if you keep feeding it logs throughout the day, the fire is always burning. So if you do the same thing with your body and you're feeding it every 2.5 hours of something nutritious, that metabolism will actually start to burn fat.
Yes.
It's once a day thing is no good.
If you're eating once or twice a day and you bump it up to 4 or 5 times a day, within a couple weeks, you will see a drastic change in your body.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make logical sense. If you think about it logically, more food is going to mean more weight. But it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way.
And so that's the thing is that, you really have to eat more, to lose weight.
And drink more water.
Obviously you're eating the right things and, the right size meals and so forth.
Right, right.
I hope these rules have helped you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I also have my own 28-day shred meal plan, which is how I've lost 65 pounds and kept it off. I have to tell you, I'm not a certified nutritionist. This is just how I've lost the weight, and it follows along with what Rich and Rick were saying about having balance, not taking on too much at a time, but still getting those tricks in how you're burning fat. And so this includes 190 different exact meals. So it's exact portion sizes, different types of meals, because I know a lot of times you have to think about what can I eat. So this includes all the exact meals and portions of everything that I eat, and that's if you get the bundle. So it has the restaurant guide, so you can go through a drive-through, you can cook at home, whatever you want to do. This is everything that I use daily. So I hope that helps you guys, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.